Hello everyone, Douglas Macbeth again for my week 2 review, and thanks again for all your comments on your learning processes so far. And I hope you enjoyed your stakeholder analysis exercise. Remember that if you're doing that for your business world, one of the people who should, or organisations that have to be on your stakeholder analysis are your competitors. You might want to think carefully about how the communication process is managed so that the competitors don't learn as much as some of your other people on your chart. But nevertheless, they are important stakeholders, and they'll be watching very carefully to find signals of what you plan to do and how you're organising. So never miss them out on your stakeholder analysis. Anyway, I hope some of you managed to catch up with the webinar. I had to leave it 3/4 of the way in, so perhaps my comments shortly were covered in the last quarter, but here we go. It was all about the difference between cooperation and collusion. And Tim was making the point that much of what we've been talking about is cooperation. But of course, the Department of Justice in America and various other enforcement agencies around the world are also worried about collusion, where markets are manipulated for the benefit of the few against the many. So essentially, the worry is a restraint of trade. And an interesting fact that emerged was that certainly in America, the agreement doesn't have to be successful to be illegal. So that's worth thinking about as well. So as I say, I had to leave before the final few minutes of the seminar, so my next point might well have been covered, and I haven't quite the actual seminar has not been loaded onto the site yet, so I can't pick up on the bits I missed. But it seemed to me that there might be a difference between the vertical parts of our supply chain, buyer-supplier relationships up and down, and the horizontal parts of cooperation or possibly collusion between competitors at the same level in the supply chain. I'm not sure if that was covered in the final quarter of the course of the webinar, but it seems to me that what we've been saying is cooperation is better than competition, or narrowly based competition, or aggressive behaviour when we're talking about buyer-supplier relationships and all of those linkages along a supply chain, since the objective of that exercise is actually to make the whole chain more competitive, make the offer to the final consumers more attractive, and therefore to win business for everyone. That seems to me to be quite good from a consumer point of view, but of course the people who win in the market mean that others in the market lose. In that sense, it's a zero-sum game at the final competition stage. So there's obviously some difficult points of interpretation in these processes, and that came out through the webinar. And clearly, we have to look carefully wherever we are doing business, that we're dealing fairly with all of our stakeholders, and we are delivering for our consumers. So if you haven't seen the webinar yet, by all means look at it. For me, it got a little bit slow just before I left, so maybe it got a bit more exciting at the end. So week 2 is over. Well done for getting it this far. You're well on the way to completion now, and we're moving into week 3, which is looking more to the future. And there's some interesting points to be made in there as well. So I hope you enjoy week 3, as I hope you have enjoyed weeks 1 and 2. So I'll say something briefly at the end of week 3 as well. So for the meantime, thanks and goodbye, and hope you enjoy week 3 coming up. Bye just now.